Thanks for joining us today to learn all about the QuietWarmth Radiant Film Heating Systems for tile and floating floors, along with our Joist retrofit option for under existing floors. QuietWarmth floor heating systems are different from other electric in-floor heating systems because QuietWarmth uses a conductive ink technology instead of a heating cable. This unique technology provides a more even distribution of heat to the floors, with no cold spots and no danger to floor covering materials in concerns to overheating. The conductive ink strips in each stripe is designed to not exceed 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So, at the most, the system will tap itself out at 85 degrees. Now, generally speaking, most people, from what we have found, live within their own room temperatures and comfort levels, which is somewhere between 72 and 75 degrees. The QuietWarmth thermostats will allow controlling the system to personal comfort. In traditional electric radiant heat systems that weave a heating cable, the use of self-levelers are needed to bury the cable system so that the subfloor is flat for the floor covering installation. The QuietWarmth systems are thinner than a credit card and will not raise the floor height. And additionally, the QuietWarmth system does not require any additional self-levelers, which saves both time and money. It installs right beneath your flooring surface. Just unroll and go. Quite literally, using the QuietWarmth system can save days on installation by not needing to wait for extra steps in between, like drying times and curing of setting materials for the heating system. Oh, but what happens if your guest already installed their floor or has a floor they don't want replaced? No problem. QuietWarmth has an under subfloor option available so you can retrofit between joist spacing beneath an available access to a subfloor like in a basement or a crawl space. This thin technology is made for warm feet, fast installation, and the weekend warrior. Each one of these black stripes in the heating mat is its own heater. So even if one of these bars becomes damaged, perhaps by an unknown factor during installation, for example, it doesn't stop the rest of the mat from working. Only the bar that's damaged will no longer work. And because each stripe is independent, each mat can be cut to length only, without destroying the function of the mat. Now, this allows you to customize mats to your room size. And finally, while you can cover the entire room with floor heat with QuietWarmth mats, it isn't always needed. Since QuietWarmth is so thin and doesn't raise the subfloor height, you can strategically place the mats where you spend the most time to enjoy specific comfort. And this will save time and money by not having to cover the entire room with floor heat. And we call this spot heating. An example is a bathroom. Place a mat in front of the vanity where it's common to spend a large part of your mornings getting ready. With a second mat, place it in front of the shower or tub so that your feet are warm upon entering or exiting the bath. So instead of covering the entire bathroom, cover where the heat will be used the most. Being able to place the heat where you would enjoy the comfort helps the guest to customize their own home experience. Even though the conductive ink technology is relatively the same for floating and tile and joist applications, there are some differences between the three product applications, as noted on the box for easy identification. Now, understand first the type of flooring that the guest is wanting to install. Then, be sure to point the guest to the right product for their flooring type. All floating floors, such as laminate, vinyl plank, and floating tile systems, use the float system. Floors that require mortar, such as traditional ceramic, porcelain, and stone tile floors, use the tile system. And what makes the tile system different than the other float systems is the tile system is encased in an anti-fracture membrane with a quick peel and stick design for faster installation. This membrane will allow thin-set mortars and glues to adhere properly to it. Use the joist product only if the guest wants to add heat to an existing floor and if they have access to 16-inch on-center joist spacing beneath flooring, like in an open basement or a crawl space. Because joist goes beneath the subfloor decking, they can use it under a variety of floor coverings, including carpet. Whether a float or a tile application is chosen, both applications come in two widths, a 3-foot wide and a 1.5 foot wide, and both have the option of either 120 volt or a 240 volt. Now both widths come in either a 5-foot or a 10-foot length version, which are both customizable to length, and we'll illustrate that in a bit. Now additionally, there are boxes labeled 2-in-1, which allows for one boxed kit to be cut into 2 lengths. The kit comes in 16-foot 8-inch lengths with the lead wires attached on both ends. And this allows you to customize your mat and use both ends without waste. So if you're needing 2 mats for under your floating floors, this might be a good cost-saving option to buy the 2-in-1 version. Meanwhile, the joist product fits in 16-inch on-center joist spacing and comes in 5-foot and 10-foot lengths. It's always good practice to sketch out a room and diagram where the mats would fit. The instruction manual has some handy graph paper to help with this, as well as we have a room design tool feature. Now this tool allows guests to get help with laying out their mats in a room by a QuietWarmth technician. Once you have your room laid out, you'll need to plan where you'll hook up the leads to your 20-amp dedicated circuit. A licensed electrician will be able to help set one up from the main electrical box. The QuietWarmth system does need to be protected by a GFCI, which thoughtfully is incorporated into any of the QuietWarmth branded thermostats. For floating floor applications, ensure that the subfloor is level and prepared properly according to the flooring manufacturer's recommendations. Now over concrete, ensure that a 6 mil vapor barrier, like moisture block, is put down first. QuietWarmth will then be rolled out on top of the moisture barrier across the floor or where you want to have spot heating in your room. Today, we are showing how to install over a wood subfloor. Roll out the proper underlayment for your flooring needs. Now in this example today, we're using QuietWalk LV multi-purpose underlayment, and we have it pre-sized to fit our space. Follow the underlayment instructions to properly install it. Some essential tools needed for installation would be a tape measure, a multimeter for testing resistance in the mats, a roll of duct tape, and a pair of scissors. Unroll the QuietWarmth mats in the position that is desired and check proper clearances for an accurate fit. Now leave 5 inches of space from walls and other objects. If the length of the mat needs to be cut, do so by measuring off the amount needed and cut along the dotted lines between the black stripes. Discard the extra cut material and cap off the silver bus bars at the ends with the provided capped-on discs. This will insulate the ends properly and not let unwanted electricity to escape that could cause the thermostat to trip. If no cutting is needed, the mats are already pre-capped with the capped-on discs and are ready to go. The manual included in the packaging has a chart to help with ohms readings. And always ensure to take and record ohms readings during steps of the install. The next step is to run the lead wires to the wall where a junction box would be placed. Now it doesn't matter which side of the mat faces up, so the customer can easily position the leads to the shortest distance to the wall. Now in many cases, for floating floors to lay evenly, you'll need to notch out or create shallow channels in the subfloor and underlayment to recess the connections and the lead wires. To save time, we have this step done, but you can do it really with any tool of your choice. Duct tape the leads down to the subfloor, and it's good practice to label the lead wires to which mat they belong to for the electrical hookup later. Now this can be as easy as putting a 1 on the white wire and a 1 on the black wire to indicate those belong to mat 1 in your sketch or diagram. Now often in renovations, lead wires will run to a wall, and when installing several mats, the leads will run to a junction box where you'll have the wire leads in parallel, meaning all white wires capped together and all black wires capped together. The final hookup of the lead wires to the power should be done by a licensed electrician and ensure to follow all local and national electrical codes. Once the QuietWarmth system is properly installed, all that remains for your guests to do is install the flooring of their choice directly over the top of the QuietWarmth mats. Much like the float version, the tile version of QuietWarmth installs much the same way. Make sure the subfloor is first prepared to the specification of the tile manufacturer. In this case today, we're using a backer board over the wood subfloor. Unroll the QuietWarmth mats in the position that is desired and check proper clearances and fit. Again, mats should maintain 5 inches from the baseboards and trim. The white membrane edges that encase the film heat mat come unsealed for easy customization. If the mats do not need to be cut to length for fitting your space, then you must seal the edge flaps by peeling back the release liners and sealing. If the mats are needed to be cut to length, do so by cutting off the amount needed and cut between the black stripes. Just as before, insulate the cut-in with the Kapton disc provided. Remember to take ohms readings along the way and record the values in the page provided in the installation manual. Seal the membrane edges so it has a moisture-tight seal around the heating mat, and do so by peeling back the release liner on both sides of the flap and sandwich the mat into the membrane. Work out any creases and air bubbles as best you can if any occur. Once the flaps are secured, dry fit the mat and then roll back the mat with the plastic peel and stick release liner down to the subfloor, releasing the peel and stick liner, and gently pull the plastic release liner back while the mat falls into place. Hand smooth the mat down or with a float trowel to ensure a good bond with the subfloor. Just as before, run the lead wires to the wall where the junction box will be located. You may have to recess the lead wires and the mat connections into the subfloor by notching or creating shallow channels to ensure a flat surface for the flooring to lay on. Again, we have this step already completed, but it can be achieved with any rotary saw or any really tool of your choice. Duct tape the leads down to the subfloor, as it is a good practice to label the lead wires to which mat they belong for the electrical hookup later. Now this can be as easy as putting a 1 on the white wire and a 1 on the black wire to indicate those belonging to mat 1 in your sketch or diagram. The final hookup of the lead wires to the power should be done by a licensed electrician and ensure to follow all local and national electrical codes. Once the QuietWarmth system is properly installed, all that remains for your guests to do is install the flooring of their choice directly over the top of the QuietWarmth mats. The joist installation is slightly different than the previous 2 applications, for the main fact that it doesn't install directly underneath the floor covering materials. Rather, it will install under the subfloor decking that can be accessed beneath, like in a basement or a crawl space. Only 16-inch on center joist spacing will work for this joist mat installation. Now, you'll need an ohms meter, a staple gun, and a pair of scissors to help with this installation. Just as before, pre-plan and measure the lengths that are needed. All leads should run to a junction box. Again, measure out the lengths of your joist area and cut the joist mats where it says to cut only. This is a bit different than the tile and float, as you cannot just cut anywhere between the black strips. Each mat is comprised of a series of panels that are spaced 1 foot apart. Cut at these 1 foot increments only, and it is labeled for cutting at these spots. Now this is important because cutting into any other area will disable the mat. Once cut to length is needed, again, cover the cut bus bar ends with the provided Kapton discs to insulate the mat from any electrical leakage and potential tripping. Measure and record the ohms again and ensure that it matches the resistance values given in the instruction booklet. Now we're ready to staple these up. This side with the yellowish color will be the visible side you see when you're done hanging the mats. And note this perforated edge to the mats. It will allow for easy stapling to the joist. It's easiest to install one side completely first and install it 2 inches below the decking. It's a good practice to make a few guide marks on each side to know where to line the mats up as you go. Then staple along close to the perforated edge and about every 12 inches. Then carefully fold the other side of the mat upward and bend down the other perforated side edge and staple it close to the bend line, ensuring the mat is level between the 2 joists. There will be a 2-inch air gap below the subfloor decking. It's good practice to recheck the mat's resistance again with the ohm meter to ensure no damage occurred during the hanging of the mats. Just as before, run all lead wires to the junction box and wire them in parallel. Remember, all final power hookups should be performed by a licensed electrician. Ensuring that we are pushing the heat upwards, install thermal insulation beneath the joist mat. When first turning on in-floor heat, it may take up to 72 hours for full results on the surface of the floor covering. QuietWarmth has a variety of floor sensing thermostats available for your radiant heat systems. There are 2 things that make these thermostats optimal for QuietWarmth systems: a built-in GFCI to properly protect the 20-amp circuit, and they come with a floor probe to sense and better track the temperatures of the floor covering. The temperature sensor should be placed next to the mats for the most accurate temperature sensing. Do not place it under the mats or more than 1 inch away from the mat, for it may give inaccurate readings. As a reminder, all final power hookups should be performed by a licensed electrician. Enjoy the luxury and comfort of floor heat.